app for it today. I got you. I got you. Okay. So, oh yeah, that a little bit of one. All right. So let's see. So we left. Let me think. Let me think. So me and Kamoji, remember, found the book at Buzz's Tavern. And now we're headed back to the ship because we got to get that book back to Captain Maritza, because Captain Maritza knows exactly what it all means. Remember, in that book, we saw the other sunken, hold on, the other sunken ship when we were down the, okay. So the other sunken ship, which is on the opposite side of the entrance to the underwater world. And we don't know how that ship got there, because the only ship we know about is the ship that Maritza is the one that's the captain of. But what we've discovered is that Maritza has a spell that has been on this ship since she got it. And the spell is so that the octopus, the McCracken, can't come get her ship. And so she has been able to sail around all of the 7 realms without being detected by this octopus. And so that's kind of what's going on there. Remember, Miss Xena just left the ship and had to go to the abandoned realm. So Miss Xena just left and went to the abandoned realm, which is all the way over here. So Miss Xena, or Miss Z, is at the abandoned realm, where Sam, who is now a dragon, Sam, Sparky, and Thane, and Miss Xena went to go see what's going on with them at the abandoned realm. Remember, the abandoned realm is where we found Katsu. But here we've got the abandoned realm. That's where they all are right now. Miss Xena sent a message to the captain and said, I need you at the abandoned realm. And so that's where we've got to go. And right now, the captain's ship, and I need to get one of those, oh, I love it. So, because that's a different story, Ronnie. That was a different story. This is a different story from that one. So, the captain's ship is right outside the volcano realm, right here. And she has to now sail all the way to here. I love it! I love it. Oh, no worries at all, Ronnie. No worries at all. Okay, so Maritza cannot leave. Captain Maritza cannot leave until me and Kamoji get back to the ship. Remember, Brooke and Ace, Jared, and Maritza all went off to this island, the volcano island, where Brooke found these little, and if you look, so you can see the ants going up the volcano. There's some ants going up the volcano right here. And those are the ants that Maritza found. And then, let's see, and then Brooke found the sparkly ash that was being burned after the ants. Do you see? So we've got that. So this is where we are. I think that's That's kind of where we are, right? Everybody's with me? Okay. So, what happened was me and Kamoji get back to the ship. We go down to the captain's quarters where Captain Maritza is, and we open up the book and we show her what me and Kamoji found. And as she's looking through the book, she remembers the stories about the shipwreck and the octopus that drug it down. And she keeps reading, and it's almost shocking, the information that this book has. Nobody knows where Buzz is. They don't even know yet that Buzz attacked Sam and Sparky. Maritza says to me and Kamoji that we have to set sail. We need to set sail right away. We have to go back to the abandoned realm. That Sparky and Thane and Sam and Messina are all hiding out in a cave on the abandoned realm. We have to go all gather together because we need to know what our next course of action is. Remember, Miss V is down there doing we don't even know what to the underwater realm. What we've done is we've set Mello down there. Mello is watching the underwater realm. And down there, she's kind of hiding back, twirling it around above her head and moving. It looks like clouds in the sky just out of thin air, moving it around and sending the lightning bolts down past the trees under this underwater realm. Mello doesn't know what's happening because she can't see everything that's going on. It's quite beautiful, the blue flames, the blue lightning, the blue charges that are going through the sky across the ground and into the woods back behind the building. She doesn't know what's happening. I hope all of those magical creatures are going to be okay, she thinks. She hopes they're going to be able to survive this. There's no telling what Miss V is doing to these animals, to these creatures. And as she's next to the ship that has been wrecked, as she's hiding behind there watching what's going on in the ship, moving around, there was something in there. She could hear it. Kind of and she thought, that's a peculiar sound. I've never heard one like that. Huh. I wonder what it could be. She swims down and puts her head in one of the portals of the ship. It's dark in there. She's looking around. She can sense something. She could sense it as she touches the ship. And as she peers down, a little light hits inside the ship. And straight down in the light was the most curious looking frog she'd ever seen. It was almost one of the most tiniest creatures, but the loudest she'd ever heard. And it just kept walking towards her. She looked down at it, put her hand down, and the frog looked up at her, kind of curious about where this creature came from. Mello didn't know what to do. Is the frog gonna come and be right in my hand? As the frog sees Mello, Froggy crawls up on to Mello's hand. She notices that as Froggy touches her hand, Froggy changes colors. It's the most interesting thing she's ever seen. She's never even heard of a frog like this before, this deep in the ocean. She thought, how peculiar. She can't wait to show this to Miss C and to Maritza. She takes the frog in her hand, and as she pulls it away from her hand, it pops off of her hand, just like a pop sound. And she thought, how adorable. And she put the frog right here. And the frog just sat there. And you could see the little breathing in the neck of the frog. Very still. The frog was not scared. Not scared. The frog just sat there and was so adorable. Mello thought, I think I'm going to have to keep this frog. So friendly. Mello gets back to looking and now is looking. And while her head was turned with this frog, Miss V had vanished. There was nobody down there. There was nobody in the underwater realm that she could see. She didn't know what happened. Her attention was turned to the cute little frog now on her shoulder. She swam all the way around, many, many miles around the underwater realm to see if she could find Miss V, the evil wizard that was the twin of Miss C. She swam and she swam and she swam. She couldn't see anything in there. She did notice that there was something looking at her from the woods as she was swimming by. Remember, there's a big dome that's over the underwater realm where Mello is, and Mello is on the outside, swimming around, looking to see where that evil wizard went. Nothing. She didn't see anything in there. So she swam around to the front entrance. She swam around to the front entrance, and that's where you have to go down and underneath where the dome is, and you swim up and into the courtyard of the underwater realm. She got there. It was open. She wasn't really sure what to do next. Meanwhile, on the captain's ship, we're now sailing we're now sailing around. It's going to take us a bit to get there. We're sailing around to get to this spot right here. And that spot is the abandoned realm. And the abandoned realm is desolate. There's caves, there's rocks, some weeds, an occasional tree here and there. Not very much there. Nobody really goes there. But that seems to be the safest place for Sam and Sparky. The ship is now headed towards the abandoned realm. Brooke and Ace are down in the galley having something to eat. Ace walks over to Brooke while she's sitting there, sets his food down next to her, and says, hi, we've never really met. We've done this and that. I just kind of want to introduce myself. It seems that I've been noticing some of the things that you do, and I wanted to talk to you about it. It's very interesting. And Brooke was like, yeah, I'm an apprentice to Miss E, and, I'm learning about different things that the earth grows that I can use as magic to help people heal, or to be able to sustain something in water. I've been working on, a few things that I think will help us. Brooke looks over at Ace and says, I know that you were a troll at one time. Tell me a little bit, about what's going on with that. He said, well, I'm a watcher. And what a watcher is someone who just watches. I watch to see what's happening in this realm. I've been in all the different realms. I don't scribe like the scribe does. The scribe makes sure that notes are taken and things like that, and scribes are given somebody to follow. I'm just a watcher. My job is to watch. I have information if somebody's looking for it. And what happened was, how I got to be a troll was I was watching, and I did a little more than watching. While I was watching, somebody dropped a root. I'd never seen this root before, and I waited, and nobody picked it up, so I grabbed it. And it was an interesting kind of root. It was purple, and, it looked like a root. And I smelled it. And when I smelled this root, it smelled sweet. Like I needed to have a little bite of it. Now, I don't normally do that. The next thing I knew, I was a troll. I don't know how that happened. I've saved this piece of root. It's in my pocket. I think you could use it. He digs around, pulls out some stuff and sets it on the counter, pulls out some more stuff and says, oh, it's in here. Pulls it out. There's a little piece of root, this big, that he has left over. Brooke, very curious about this root, took it out of his hand and looked at it, smelled it. Wow, the smell makes you want to eat it. There's nothing almost you can do when you smell it. You want to eat it. Brooke almost ate it. Ace pushed her hand away from her mouth and said, "You can't eat it. It will turn you into a troll." Brooke said, "I'm going to need to study this. Thank you so very much. I've never seen a root like this one ever before." Brooke took that root, put it in her pantsuit, stuck it in there. She can't wait to get back to her room, because with that and the powder that she found on the volcano island, she's got so many things that she needs to study. And she told Ace, "I'm going to get back to my room. I've got to study this." Ace said, "I'd like to help you. I've been a watcher for many, many years. I've seen some things that might be able to help you in your studies." And so they left and went back to Brooke's room. Well, when they got into Brooke's room, it was very impressive. There wasn't almost room for a bed in there. What she had was she had containers and little round bottles and things that were bubbling and this and that over here. And then on this side, she had little bitty bottles that were about this big, just on a counter that was all different colors, just right across that table. It was really the most amazing room that Ace had ever seen. If Ace could call it anything, he would call it modern. I don't know if he really knows what modern means, but if he did, this would be called modern. I know, it was pretty impressive. Well, meanwhile, now that they're studying and listening and looking and things, we go back up to the very top of the ship where Captain Maritza is manning the ship and getting it over to the abandoned realm. And as she's up there hanging out, looking at the beautiful day, the water, the smell of the sea, something she's always loved to do her whole life. She's been on the sea. She doesn't remember where she was born. It's almost like this ship was made for her. This ship was part of her. As she gazed out and she could see the different realms as she came up and around, she could see this realm over here. She's been to most every realm. Normally, she doesn't get off the ship. She just cruises by. It's almost like she's patrolling the waters, making sure that all the realms are where they're supposed to be and doing what they're supposed to be doing. And as she's looking out, she notices Jared the giant walking up towards her. She thought, I really like that Jared the giant. He was right there, ready to protect me when I was in danger. He gave himself for me when he did that. He's held the steering of the ship when we needed help. He's always been right here, helping and protecting what we need to be doing. And as Jared walked up to her, she looked up at him and said, I appreciate you, my friend. And Jared said, thank you. I've really loved being on this ship. I would really love you to teach me more about it. about sailing, about being a captain. I almost feel that I have a calling for the sea. I've been around to a realm here or there, but never have I been on such a fine ship. It's amazing. Sunshine Maritza, the captain of this ship, grabbed a hold of his hand. When she did, it was almost as if her whole hand covered his thumb. She grabbed a hold of his thumb, moved him over to the wheel. He had to kind of lean down a little bit to get to it, but he was okay because he really loved sailing. And Captain Maritza said, so what you're going to do is you're just going to kind of move back and forth with the waves as you're holding on to the wheel. You've got to be strong because the waves are going to want to pull you too far one way or another, and you have to keep on that. I have these muscles, and they're so big because I've traveled these waterways for many, many years. And Maritza walked away and left Jared to be in control of this ship. Jared felt the most mightiest he's ever felt in his whole life. Jared could sail a ship. It was the most magnificent, glorious feeling he's ever had. The freedom of sailing, of going to places he's never been before. The ship gets closer to the abandoned realm. They could see that the storm was just over the horizon of the giant realm. They could see the storm collecting, and it seemed to be getting stronger. It's been sitting there for several weeks now, not moving, waiting to become dark and make the realms totally dark. The storm is looking very ominous. The ship finally made it to the abandoned realm. They start to disembark the ship and they land on the beach. They start walking up to the abandoned area. They could see all of the different caves. Reached over to my satchel and opened it up. And inside the satchel, she was digging around. And in the satchel was Oscar's feather. She picked up Oscar's feather and held it in her hand. She concentrated on that feather. She told that feather, we need to find Miss Z. We need to find her now. The feather shot up out of her hand and started to float away from her. Everybody started following. We followed and we followed. We passed this cave and we passed that cave. over this big bunch of boulders and back down on the other side. And as we were coming down on the other side of these boulders, the feather dropped. It didn't take us anywhere else. It stopped right here. There's no Sam. There's no Messina. And as we heard a thunder, we saw the lightning go across the top of the sky, around and down. Why did the feather drop? What's happening? We see the lightning again. This time it's getting closer to where we are. I turn and look. Kamoji turns and looks. And at the very top of this thunderstorm was Miss V, laughing. Ha ha ha! Laughing and pointing. Lightning bolts coming out of her hands. Like she was trying to hit us with the lightning bolts. The storm was getting closer. We don't know where the cave is. We don't know where Miss C is. All we can do is run! 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 We all start running. I'm trying to keep up with Kamoji. Kamoji is running. Oh my goodness, we're scattered. Where is everybody? Run! I look around. Maritza's gone. I look around. Where is Kamoji? Run! Run! All right. What do you think?
Are y'all running?
Are you running?